First, I have begun working on the Fall of EA Sports video. That will go live when it's complete. Now, when I originally recorded this video, EA and the NFL's deal had not yet been voted into fruition by the NFL owners. It since has. And now EA's exclusive rights to creating simulation NFL games has been extended to 2025, and if financial incentives are hit, 2026. There has been some confusion about this news, with people now thinking this means there's no more NFL 2K game. Listen up. This has changed nothing for the time being. The NFL 2K game is still coming, just as it was when it was announced. The game will not be simulation based, which is what EA has exclusive NFL rights to, and I'll get to that later in the video. Now, I do want to address this news at the beginning of this video. First, here's what Rachel Hoagland, the league's vice president and head of gaming and esports at the NFL, had to say on the extension. EA has done a nice job of ensuring the game matches the experience during a game week. This statement is beyond stupid, as Madden has failed to meet that benchmark for a very long time, if ever. Obviously, this is terrible news for football video game fans as consumers, as competition is the only way I see Madden innovating. But like I said, and like I will say later in this video, NFL 2K is coming back in some form, likely as a more arcade-style title, which will provide more competition than Madden has had since 2005. On a further note, in an NFL article on the extension, Andrew Wilson, CEO of EA, said that EA will create games in new genres and on new platforms. So EA is likely going to make more NFL games than just Madden. This is interesting news, at the very least. The last part of this deal I wanted to share was that it's been reported that the NFL actually wanted to open up their license and allow competition, but EA apparently blew them away with a plan of innovation. What does that mean? Only time will tell, and with Madden 21, perhaps we will see some of that innovation? I would be very surprised to see some big changes, and I find it incredibly unlikely that this quote from EA ages well. But if EA proves me wrong, then hey, we might have a good football game on our hands. Now that the EA news is out of the way, let's get into the original video on what the new NFL 2K game will look like. But first, here's a quick word from today's sponsor, Manscaped. I'm a tall dude, so if I have nose hairs sticking out, everyone is going to notice. Even if you're not tall, your nose is right smack in the middle of your face. People are always going to notice nose hairs, and it's disgusting. Plucking your nose hairs is an option, but it's also incredibly painful and might even hurt worse than nicking your balls. Luckily, Manscaped has spent the last year reinventing the traditional nose hair trimmer and has released an all-new product called the Weed Whacker, which uses the same skin-safe technology used in their lawnmower body trimmer, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs. It uses a 9,000 RPM motor with a 360-degree rotary dual-blade system to safely whack your weeds. It's also water-resistant and the only nose hair trimmer with a cordless, rechargeable lithium-ion battery that lasts up to 90 minutes. And if you select the Peak Hygiene plan, you will also receive a replacement blade at your door every 3 months. Listen fellas, 79% of partners find long nose hair to be a major turnoff. Get the new Weed Whacker from Manscaped. It's the best possible way to trim your nose hairs. Manscaped also offers a new performance package which includes the Weed Whacker, and it is the best deal on the whole site. So stop being a loser and go to manscaped.com and use my code SOFTDRINKTV for 20% off and free shipping. Thank you to Manscaped for keeping our pubes trimmed and our noses free of weeds. If you didn't know by now, let me inform you of some groundbreaking news in the football video game landscape. NFL 2K is coming back. I made a video on this when the news broke, and I figured I'd return to the topic and discuss what the game will likely be like and how we should hold our expectations. Since 2007, we haven't seen a 2K football game, and it's pretty much just been Madden doing its thing without any competition. The NFL and 2K recently agreed to a deal where 2K can now produce NFL licensed games, with the first slated for 2021. However, the games are to be non-simulation. Technically speaking, EA and the NFL have a contract where EA has exclusive rights to making simulation NFL games, meaning only EA can make a game like Madden. And while yes, Madden is the furthest thing from a true NFL simulation, it is still 11-on-11 football, with graphics and player models that are intended to look realistic. The argument over whether Madden succeeds at being an NFL simulation is irrelevant here. EA can make a game that attempts to recreate NFL football, whether they are successful at that or not, which most would argue they are not, while 2K has to make a game that is not intended to be a simulation. I think we all need to lower our expectations. Of course, the hardcore 2K community thinks 2K is literally Satan, so they will have no issues warning people about microtransactions or saying that 2K is worse than EA. I disagree with that statement completely. EA is much worse than 2K. But my point is that those are not the people I'm referring to. I'm talking to the hardcore Madden crowd, the people who have been begging and pleading for a new NFL game for a decade plus. Is this new 2K game going to overall have a positive effect? Yes, because it is in a sense competition. However, those expecting this game to destroy Madden and end EA's exclusive rights agreement need to relax. For starters, the NFL's deal with EA is actually already being extended until 2026, which was due to expire in 2021. And Madden sells very well because it is the only NFL game. I'm sure EA pays the NFL a very high figure to continue to hold exclusive rights over the NFL license as well, which is great for the NFL financially. At the end of the day, it's all just a business, and people like us who simply want a good football video game, we don't matter. I get it. You want something to be happy about, to cheer for, to look forward to. I'm not saying the 2021 NFL 2K game is going to be bad, but it's not going to be something that directly competes with Madden. It'll be very different. I've seen people mention that All Pro Football 2K8 doesn't have the word simulation anywhere on the packaging, and is instead called an authentic experience. This was tied together with 2K's recent statement that also featured the word authentic. I think this is setting yourself up for disappointment. Trust me, I would love a 2021 release of 2K8, but that is incredibly unlikely. EA has to be paying the NFL for something. Imagine paying the NFL millions of dollars to be the only company allowed to make a certain product, and then another company comes along without paying the NFL those millions and makes a similar product. That's just not realistic. So what do I expect the NFL 2K game to look like, and where should your expectations be in order to not feel let down when it releases? The most likely scenario is an NFL Playgrounds type game. 2K just announced a new WWE game called WWE Battlegrounds, and they have an NBA game called NBA Playgrounds. It's incredibly likely that they would continue this series with an NFL version, rather than going off script and attempting to create a Madden competitor that they aren't legally allowed to make, at least with an NFL license. I'd imagine the game would have cartoon graphics, kind of like the Wii Madden games as well. Players will probably look like bobbleheads, have crazy abilities that are super over the top. Expecting an NFL Blitz type of game is very realistic actually. In terms of depth, expecting a franchise mode complete with drafting, free agency, and more is likely setting yourself up for disappointment once again. I could see a season mode, or tournament modes, or some crazy cool new creative modes that we haven't even seen yet in a football game, but an actual traditional franchise mode meant to rival Madden's is super unrealistic. It may sound like I'm being a downer, but you have two options here. Expect 2K to end Madden with the ultimate football game we've all been waiting for, and then being let down, or expecting something realistic. If you are expecting the first option, you will be disappointed. When I first heard the news, I figured this was simply for 2K to show the NFL that there is interest in another NFL game, so that when the exclusive sim license with EA ended in 2021, the NFL would either partner with 2K or even better open the license up for multiple companies. But with that recent news of Madden and the NFL having a deal in place until 2026, I realized that this simply is not the case. Now that all that negativity is over with, let's discuss how this game could actually be really good realistically. First, not being tied to being a simulation game opens up so many possibilities. It means over-the-top action could take place that wouldn't even happen in a real NFL game. Fighting with players between plays, no penalties, insane one-handed catches, behind-the-back passes, and all sorts of crazy, chaotic events could happen. The game will have NFL teams and players because it will have the NFL license, so you will be able to play with Mahomes or Saquon, or likely even NFL greats. I'd expect to see classic players like Walter Payton or Michael Vick. Classic teams could return. The game could also offer something EA won't do in Madden: full customization. They could easily implement a team creation suite where you design team logos, uniforms, and stadiums. The online aspect of the game could be great as well, potentially even with an NFL park. I'm definitely excited to see what 2K comes out with, but I wanted to issue a warning for those who had their expectations set too high. I'll admit it, I fell for the hype as well when the 2K and NFL partnership was announced, but the idea here is not to set yourself up for disappointment. That has happened way too many times in the community, just look at Joe Montana Football 16. Expect less, so you can be pleasantly surprised, rather than another angry dude ranting on Twitter when the game releases and isn't NFL 2K5 Part 2. And then there's the XFL. In my initial video announcing the news, I mentioned how the game could have a separate XFL mode. Well, the XFL died thanks to the pandemic, and while there's a chance it gets bought by an investor and becomes born again, a video game license is as far away as ever. It also turns out that the company in talks with the XFL over a video game license was not 2K, but instead Canuck Play, developers of Doug Flutie's Maximum Football. And while a partnership between the currently defunct league and Maximum Football could have been great for Canuck Play, it likely would not have been what the community wanted. I know I was expecting 2K. Could we see another All-Pro Football title? That's actually not out of the question. I'm sure the NFL is going to closely monitor the sales of their 2K and EA games for the next few years to see if any changes need to be made when the license expires again in 2026. I was likely being too short-sighted, expecting 2K potentially taking over the license in 2021. The NFL likely wants to see a few years of 2K firmly securing its place on the market, and when 2026 comes around, it would be likely in 2K's best interest to have some kind of prototype for a simulation NFL game to show the NFL. This could be done in the next few years with a fully generic simulation football game, a spiritual successor to 2K8. Remember, this is pure speculation on my part, but I find this a lot more realistic than expecting 2K to drop the greatest football game ever in 2021. I hope you found this video informative, and it's simply meant to be taken as a reality check so that when 2021 comes around, you aren't feeling disappointed because you expected something unrealistic. I'm about as fed up with Madden as anyone out there, but at the very least, this new 2K game will give players a new NFL video game option. It may not be a simulation game, but it's a nice step forward for those wanting competition and better quality products. At the end of the day, the only thing we can control is where we spend our money, so use that to your advantage and only buy products you see value in purchasing. Thanks for watching.